Hello, Math 2 students. Today we're going to go over the 6.3 Day 1 notes. So let's go ahead. We're going to go over a couple of definitions first. So first, let's go over what congruent means, all right? So if two figures are congruent, that means that they are identical in form. And what that means is that their side lengths, the corresponding sides, are congruent. And their corresponding angles are congruent. So essentially it's the exact same shape. The orientation might be different. Like one might be, kind of flipped to the side, turned upside down. Those can still be congruent, but the side lengths, the corresponding sides, are the exact same size and the angles are the exact same size. Now let's talk about what similar means. All right. So if two figures are similar, they are the same shape, but different size. All right, and what that means is specifically, if two polygons are similar, their corresponding sides are proportional. And their angles, corresponding angles, are congruent. All right. So kind of think of it as, if let's say I take this image, make this a triangle. These guys are the exact same thing. These would be congruent. Oops. And even if I turn it, it's okay. It's still congruent. However, let's see. If I take this guy, and I'm going to change the size of him and turn him. These guys are these exact same shape, but they're different sizes. So these are going to be similar. All right, think about similar as like, how like when you take a picture and you can blow it up and, put it on a poster board or blow it up in as a larger photo. That's kind of what similar is. It's the same thing, but different size. All right, so then we have scale factor. So scale factor, really what it does is it shows you the, essentially the ratio of the size from your new image to your old image. So different ways to kind of calculate this is you do your image over pre-image. And we'll talk about what these terms mean. You could also, I feel like usually what tends to make more sense to students is you're going to do the size of your new over your old image. All right. And the similarity ratio, it shows you the, we'll say ratio from image, or we should say ratio from pre-image to image. All right, and then we've got a similarity statement. A similarity statement is shows you which parts of the figure are corresponding. All right, so let's see. We could say it shows which part of these shapes correspond for two similar figures. We'll say that. So one way you can kind of show, I'm going to show this, is when you write a similarity statement, you have to do it in the correct order. So how about let's go up to here. We know that these angles correspond. We know that these angles correspond. And we know that these angles correspond. So we'll say C, C prime, A prime, and then B, B prime. Okay, so you have to make sure that you write them in the correct order. So in this case, these two angles go together. So we would do A, triangle A prime. And then, or I should say point A prime. And then the B ones go together, so they both have to be written second. And then the C ones go together, so they both have to be written last. And you would say like triangle A, and then this symbol means similar. All right. It has to be written in this order. You can't go and write, you know, like triangle ABC is congruent to triangle A prime, C prime, B prime, because these guys don't go together. If they're both in the middle, they need to be associated with the same angle. All right, so let's go ahead and try this out. So they tell us that angle ABC, or I'm sorry, figure ABCD is similar to figure EFGD. All right, complete each statement. So first, they want to know the measure of angle E. All right, so let's look. Angle E is in the same spot as angle A. All right, and we know that angle A is 53, and if they're both in the first location, that means that they're going to have to be congruent. So A and E are congruent, and if A is 53, E has to be 53. Then they ask for angle D. Well, let's look. D is in the last spot, so that means it's going to go with H. Okay. I'm assuming one thing they probably should have told us here is that these are parallelograms. And we know that in parallelograms, opposite angles are congruent. So if if F is 127, that means that H is going to be 127. All right. And we know that H and D go together, so D has to be 127. Now, again, with similar figures, the angles are congruent. However, the sides are not congruent. They have to be proportional. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. And actually, that's what comes up next here. So we have that AB is proportional to BC. So AB, or I'm sorry, no. So they give us AB, and they give us, so AB is this part here. And then they give us BC, which is this part here. All right. And then they give us FG, which goes there. So now we have to figure out, well, what part should go on top with AB? Well, that's going to be AB's buddy. So it's actually going to be this guy here, FE. All right, let's try it now. So we've got AB and EF. Those are these guys. And then they give us AD. So which one's going to go with AD? Well, we can look. AD is the first and last, so we're going to need EH, first and last. And I guess I should have pointed that out here, right? AB are the first two. FE or EF are the first two as well. So you have to make sure that the corresponding ones go together. All right. Next, for example 2, we have triangle ABC and triangle QRS. So they want to know angle A. So angle A and angle Q go together, and we do know what angle Q is. Angle Q is 46, so that means that angle A has to be 46. All right. And now they want to know angle S. Now, angle S goes with angle C. But we could figure out what angle C is. Do 180 minus 53 minus 46. Which is going to give us 81. And since C and S correspond, S has to be 81. All right. Now this is where it's going to get a little bit tricky. They want us to find RS. So what we're going to have to do is, with the sides, we have to set up a proportion. One of these things that we set up here. All right. So for RS, we got to figure out which two letters go along with RS. Those are the last two letters. So that means that BC go together. So RS and BC are both corresponding. All right. So now what we need to do is we need to find another pair of corresponding sides that have their values. All right. Usually the way I teach to set up a proportion is big over small. I think that tends to just make the most sense for people. So let's do BC, which is our big guy, over our small, which is RS. So we're going to say 18 over, and we don't know what RS is, so we'll put an X there. We're trying to figure that out. And now, again, let's do big over small. If we look, we have information on AC, and we have information on SQ. Now you have to make sure that these are corresponding. AC are the first and last, and SQ is the first and last. So those are corresponding, which means we can use them together in a proportion. So we're going to say 6 over 5. We're going to do big over small. Now we are able to go ahead and solve this. We're going to cross multiply just like we did yesterday. So we do 18 times 5, which is going to give us 90 and 6x. And we're going to divide by 6. And we get 15. Which means that RS is 15. Now I'm sure this was tricky, so kind of bear with me. But the way that we set up this proportion was we used the corresponding sides. All right, let's try another one. They say LMNO is congruent to HIJK. Complete the proportions and statements below. So we have M. All right, so which angle is going to be congruent to M? That's going to be the guy in the second spot. So that's going to be angle I. M and I are congruent. Now we got angle K. Angle K is last, O is last. So we're going to use angle O as its buddy. Then we have angle N. N is third and J is third. So it's going to be angle J. All right. So now let's go ahead. We have MN over IJ. So let's kind of mark this down. We have MN, which is this guy, and IJ, which is this guy. And if you look, MN and IJ are both first and second, first and second. All right. Now we've got JK. So we got this guy here. Now we need to figure out which side goes with JK. So JK are the two last letters. So we need to find the two last letters of our other figure. That's going to be N and O. So we're going to put N and O there. All right. Let's keep going. So now we've got HI and LN. That's what they gave us here. So let's mark that down. HI, and we can erase this. HI is the first two here. And LM is also the first two. Now we've got HK. Now H and K are the first and the last. So we need to use the first and the last from the first guy. That's going to be L and O. All right, let's try this next one. So we have IJ, which if we look, I and J are the two middle ones. And we have M and N, which are the two middle ones. Now we've got H and K. H and K are the first and the last of the second guy. So we need to figure out which letters this goes with from the first guy. So which letters should be put there? If we use the first and the last from the second guy, what letters should we be using from the first guy? We're going to be doing L and O. All right.